Hello YouTube, welcome back to another video of mine. Today I'm going to do a Football Manager video. Now, other than FIFA, I've probably sunk the most amount of hours into Football Manager. Late nights after work, 3 a.m, continue a few more, couple more games, it easily gets to 5 a.m. So I normally do a derby career every time I do Football Manager, but 4 years of doing it, we're probably one of the better teams. I say on paper, spent the most money, bought in the biggest players, but the squad's not really changed too much. The squad's not really changed too much, and it's just got a bit repetitive. So I didn't want to do a team in 7 leagues down where that's just tedious. That's 7 years to even start playing good football. So I've done derby careers every year for like the last 3 or 4 years. The team hasn't really changed too much. We're probably on paper the best team, one of the better teams in the leagues now, at least in the money we've spent. So Mansfield just a little bit different, a bit more of a challenge going from League 2 to the Premiership. I didn't want to do a career too far down the leagues because that's a lot of years till you've got a decent team. So we had about 50k starting wage and 5k wage budget. That's not a lot at all. Our best player is a striker called Westcar, who's valued at about 200k. I couldn't really sell him if I wanted to, but there were some good players in there. We had some local lads like Liam Marsden. So this kid had great stamina, great work rate, great crossing, marking, tackling, and best of all, he had 20 throw-ins. I think it could be one of the best on the whole game. Maybe Chiellini topping it. Incredible. The tactics were real that year. The first time I've really gone through the effort of making a throw-in tactic. So I recommend that if you've got a player with 20 throw-ins. Other than that, the only player really to shout about was a young centre mid called Jack Thomas. Kind of Stevie G-esque if you look at his stats here. He is box to box, I guess. Work rate really good, stamina really good, passing really good, long shots great, finishing good, first touch good, loads of mental attributes. He was a great player for us. He actually went on to play even better at Wigan, getting 7.2s to 5s each season. Crazy assists and goals there actually for a centre mid. I would have liked to have kept him. He never got to see any Premier League football, unfortunately for him. So, who else did we sign in the first year? Not a lot. We didn't have much money at all, to be honest. I just signed 2 oldies with really good passing. Like, their only stat was they could pass very well, and I just wanted them to keep the ball taken in midfield. A couple of players on loan has to be done. So the first year I played a 4-3-3. I've still got a variation of it here. I like to have my fullbacks on automatic. I'm sure people out there can get them playing better than I did. Like I say, I'm not the teacher. I'm a student as well. I'm just passing down anything I've learned across the years in Football Manager. So other than that, I always have a ball-winning midfielder or anchor man if he's better suited. Needs to sit in front of the back four and just give them a bit of protection. Also, teams always seem to play 4-2-3-1, so it just cuts out the advanced playmaker at the top of there very well. And in terms of the other centre mids, I think it is just whatever they're better suited to. Like that Jack Thomas, the good stamina and work rates, going forward and defending had to be a box to box. And then just a player to sit in front of the other 2 central midfielders and sort of distribute the ball to the wingers and striker and stay there for any more passes back to him. So I like him to push forward a little bit more and give some support up to the attack. Now in the lower leagues, you'd probably I wanted wingers anyway. Good stamina, good work rate, can cross. Pretty much was all I needed from him. And the good thing about its formation is you can play it in a couple of different ways. You can either play really slow possession build up, because you've got a lot of triangles with your wingers here and fullbacks, and in your central midfield, and then the striker gives you 3 triangles as well. So you can play it like that if you've got good players for it. I did that a little bit in games where everyone on short passing, tempo really low, because none of them could pass. So you can also play it counter attack, where because you're sitting pretty far back in your midfield, you take the ball off them, your 2 centre mids and wingers are running at them, and you create something on the counter attack, which is good in some games. It's a little bit risky on Football Manager. Either they do nothing on the counter attack, in my opinion, or then they score like 3 against Tottenham away. It's crazy. Advanced forward seems to be what worked for me the best with my striker. It's kind of like a cheap complete forward without the technical abilities, I found. So yeah. If you'd like me to do another video on tactics, by the way, I'd be happy to do that. I'm sure it won't be too different from other people's. Yeah. So we actually ended that year in 5th position and got into playoffs, and we went on to win that all 3 games and got ourselves into Division 1. Time to get to Championship now. So on to our 2016-17 season, first year in Division 1. We got a little bit of money. They gave us, I reckon it was about 250k. And I'm just going to explain how I bought. So I wanted to buy a really promising player who wasn't world class, because one thing I found with Mansfield, even if there was a player I could afford, they never wanted to join Mansfield. It was really hard throughout 8 years to get anybody, even in the Premiership, anyone to join us. It was really tough. So I found this guy, Rafael Calvet, from Brentford at the time. And I just wanted a player that would last us until we got into Premier League. It was just a guaranteed investment, I suppose. And he had great marking, great tackling, heading, loads of mental stats, a great leader. So he was my captain for 8 years. Jumping reach, strength, he had it all, and he was fantastic. He could even play defensive mid when we really needed him to, which was absolutely great. So I spent 450k on him. And I don't know how many Footy Man pros I'll have watching this, or how many people are just starting out looking for tips or whatever. So I'm just going to explain one of the ways to make your transfer budget stretch the most. So if you look here, we've got additional fees. You can add in monthly installments and league appearances, put it up to the maximum 48 months, 50 games. They're asking for 1.8 million, so I'm going to give them 250k up front, a million over 2 years, and another 250k or whatever over time. They'll negotiate. So anyway, that's sort of how you make your money stretch a lot. So I probably gave him about 50k or something up front for Calvert, and the rest all over the next 2 years. Viv Cooper, little pacey striker with 17 finishing from Liverpool, who did pretty much nothing. Thought he might be quite good. My mistake. Other than that, I got Rasselo back on loan, an attacking mid striker player who was actually quite good. Elsink from Derby, who's great passer of the ball, can play on each wing. Recommend him for some championship teams on loan. Good player. Other than that, I got Milan Laukovic. If any of you guys play FIFA a lot, you might know him from a few years ago. Super pacey. Me and my brother had a career mode as Nottingham County, not even Forest, and he used to do really well for us. I got in our keeper for the next few years on a free. Didn't really. I sold some of the old guys. Got some people off the wage budget. So same formation again, 4-3-3 most games, and another promotions, back-to-back promotion seasons. We finished 5th, won our playoff games, and we found ourselves heading into the championship. So moving on to our first year in the Championship, I was absolutely buzzing. I did not want to spend too much time in the lower leagues with less money. 40 something games. It's not good times, guys. Not good times. So instantly went out and bought a striker, a target man. This Danish beast, shall we say, called Nikolai Brock Mazden. Decent finishing, heading, really tall. Basically was all I wanted. Then I got an experienced winger called Dean Cox, who very slow. He's actually retired now, so you can't see his stats. Really slow, but great crossing, decent finishing, first touch, no pace at all though. You can see the tactic here. We get it to the winger, he crosses it. It's Big Sam tactics all over there. I bought in a free youngster I thought was going to be really good from Forest, who mediocre to be honest. Jake Bucko from Derby County. I was really chuffed with this. Obviously, it's a Derby player. He's a bit of a legend. Thought he'd be a great buy for a Championship team wanting to just stay in the league. He had like 16 marking and tackling. He was awful for us. He got like 2 red cards in 10 games, no clean sheets, and it was a terrible buy from me. The fans were calling it an aberration, and I could not argue with that. Regan Poole was a great loan from Manchester United for the kind of caliber player we had. Really good. I mean, he's not quite a wonder kid, but I mean, he looks quite good in the future. Decent stats all round and so key to our season, so good. I got in a record transfer fee for 1 million. Again, not a pacey winger, but good crossing, dribbling, first touch, passing, technique, all that stuff. Callum Cook, our first decent playmaker. Like, it was just a quality on the rest. Before that, I just had players with like 15 passing, and that was pretty much their only stat. So just to have some more all-round players with a bit of everything was great. He did well for us. Mitch Hancock's a great left back for any Championship teams. Very good marking, good all-round stats everywhere. He'll do well for you. Rico Henry, I think, was kind of a similar player. Got George Saville on a free, who still plays for us now, if not just sold. Really good box to box. So this all happened actually because of a big transfer decision to make. We got an offer for our own Stevie G, Jack Thomas from Mansfield, and we had to sell him. Our finances, our entire bank, even after getting to the Championship, was about 300k in total whole finance for the club. So even getting a 200k player, which none of these were 200k, would have been pretty much all our money. So I would have liked to have kept him, but when they offer that kind of money, you have to take it for a team like Mansfield, unfortunately. So with that money, George Saville, free central midfielder, but I think this guy needs his own special mention. Jay Fulton, you might know him from Swansea, a Scottish central midfielder. I expect he's already played, or you will see him in the national team for Scotland at some point. I mean, 3 assists in his first year, 16 games, not really good, but he still played 7.2. Was definitely a crucial player for us for a number of years, and for 190k I was absolutely laughing. Great stamina, great work rate, passing, tackling, marking, everything I wanted in a central midfielder. And lastly, it paid me to get a Forest player, but when they're selling Jamie Patterson so cheap, you have to go for it. So he's a different player to the rest. I mean, he still doesn't have pace, but his crossing is not very good, his passing is okay. But the idea is he's got a load of flair, and he was going to be a substitute for the wings in the last minutes of the game. If our very dull, generic tactic of getting it to a big man up front didn't work, he was going to try and add something different, good finishing. And this guy, I'm a Lanian wonder kid, new head deco, very much a poacher, agile, got acceleration, anticipation, composure, off the ball, finishing, first touch. Just need another striker in the Championship, someone to play off the big man and West Carr, who we still had at that time. Couple of free players, a couple of loans. So not a good season. We were in relegation the entire time. like fourth from bottom at all points pretty much. It was quite depressing. The only thing to work for is just getting out of relegation. We were never comfortable at any point, even with the money I spent. So probably that was my fault. So yeah, it did not work too well for us. We finished like 18th, something like that in the table, but we stayed in, which is the main thing. In 2 back-to-back promotions, I thought that was quite good. So the next season, so on to our 2019 to 20 season. This was a big season for transfers, actually. So just to quickly run through it, loads of loans, to be honest, a couple of frees. Stephen Davis needs a mention. It's something I never really did before on the game, but getting in really old players, especially for teams like this, not only are they good for tutoring your younger players and being a decent role model, because it passes on their temperament, or I forgot what it's actually called, maybe their attitude or something. But as well, he was the best passer our team had ever had at, I think, 18 passing. Don't quote me on that, but really good passing stats. And as I wanted to play a 4-2-3-1 and go out there to try and dominate games, I've still got the 4-2-3-1 here if you want to see it. Try and dominate games. He was perfect for that. Literally the first 10 games, we won nearly all of them. I think 8 out of those 10 and 2 draws, unbeaten in 10 games for the first time. And I honestly owe it all to Stephen Davis at the time. His composure on the ball and just keeping our midfield, passing it around. The tempo was on very slow. So, and even just to seal out games for the last 40-30 minutes. Obviously, he's not got the legs at that age. He's 38 now in the game and coaching. He did not have the legs, so even just to see out, say you're 2-1 up and you want to just see out a game, it was great to bring on for that exact reason. Just a bit of composure and experience for the team. So if you want to get in older players, it is not always a bad idea. Other than that, I got him on Callum Harriott on loan. Stamina, work rate, decent winger for us. I just wanted him to track back and be a good rotation player for the whole season, and know that he wasn't going to slack off in defence pretty much. This guy, an absolute monster at Yeti. He's got 18 finishing, pacey, really physical, off the ball great, work rate great, teamwork, just an amazing wonder kid, to be honest. That season scored 4, assisted in 1 in 14 games. That's not bad. A lot of the goals spread out over the team. Timmy Elsink back for another year. I bought Ferran Rawson, who looked really good actually. When I bought him, he's not changed at all from the stats you're seeing there. Just like 15 marking and stuff. I thought he was going to be very good. He's been okay. It also puts him as a right back, but I have no idea why that is, because he's quite tall. If you look here, he's got the perfect stats. All his best stats pretty much go for a centre back right there. And that's not a limited defender either. So yeah, he wasn't as good as I hoped he'd be, but for 1.3 million, he did well for us. Callum Cook came back for another year. Maximiliano Escobar is fantastic. He's an Argentinian. He mainly plays central midfield, but put him out in the wings when need be. Great pace, great work rate. Well, not good work rate, good stamina, great vision, and he was fantastic. He scored one of our most crucial goals in the season. I'll get to that. Other than that, yeah. So this season, I just said fuck it. Look, nothing I did worked with getting the red cards dampened down a little bit. So I just said get stuck in every game. If we get down to 10 men, we dealt with it last season, and genuinely, I don't know if this would have been in the code for the game, but they genuinely seem to cope with it a lot better. Like picking up the occasional win with 10 men, or like still clinging them draws that we managed to do last season. So I don't know if it was experience or what, but they're a little bit better with it. I probably shouldn't have been telling them to get stuck in, but it worked, yeah. So in January, we were doing very well. We were in playoff position all season round after such a great start with Stephen Davis keeping us going. They actually bidded for the target man I bought last season, Manston, so I sold him for 400k. Patterson went for a little bit of profit, and I got rid of quite a few players that we had just bought, really. So in turn, I got this guy, Stipe Parisa, who used to play at Udinese, actually, if I've pronounced that correctly before. Great jumping, great strength. He's just your target man. He's going to head the ball. Really tall, I think, 192 centimeters, about 6'3" or something. Fran Martinez was such a good player. I think he's a regen, so you won't be able to get him, but absolute monster for us. Just exactly what I needed in central midfield. Just a bit more quality, passing, marking, tackling. That's it, and stamina, work rate. That's all I needed from him, and he was absolutely fantastic for us. Just doing what he needed to. And the last one, I couldn't actually believe this. As someone from the East Midlands, I definitely know who Britt Sombalonga is. And they were selling him for nothing. Like, how much was that? 600k spread out over years. He was probably worth a lot more than that at the start of the game. So I thought I was absolutely laughing when I got that. So Sombalonga's first season with us, I've got to show you this. My girlfriend was with me the whole time throughout this season, and just every game I was cheering because Sombalonga just scored every single game. I've never had a striker so consistent. You can sometimes get those players like I had Lukaku on one career where he either scored a hat-trick and then didn't score for 3 games, or scored 2 and then didn't score the next game. Quite inconsistent. And that's actually a hidden stat for some players. So he scored 15, assisted in 4 in 20 games. Other than that, he did well for us the years after. So this season, we got into a playoff position. And we had 2 games against, I think it was QPR. No, sorry, we had two games. I didn't write this down. In the playoffs, we won the semi-finals quite easily. Then we had QPR in the final, and if you know much about Derby or you watch the playoffs most years, because in my opinion, some of the up there with the El Clasicos of games to watch annually. So QPR, whilst Harry Redknapp was managing them, played Derby County, my team, in the finals of the playoffs. They were down to 10 men the Mansfield way, and they brought Bobby Zamora on the 90th minute, I guess it was, and he scored in the 92nd minute to knock Derby out and go into the Premier League. Absolutely good. I hate QPR. And they did the same to us. They beat us 4-1 and we got absolutely smashed. I think I probably went too defensive with the tactics, and we deserved to go out. But throughout the season, I failed to mention this, we did very, very well in the FA Cup. I've done a Reddit post on this career a few months ago, and I'm going to leave a link to that in the comments below if you want to just read that instead. And that has some of the extra details I might have missed. So I think we beat Swansea 4-1. There was a 2-0 win somewhere, and a 2-1 over Crystal Palace, I think it was. And we got into the final of the FA Cup. It was such an easy run. We didn't come up against any big teams, so we were very lucky in that respect. And we were off to play at Wembley for the second time in 3 weeks as Mansfield. And I was I held a team meeting with the lads before to try and boost the morale before the game, because going out in a playoff after a whole season, really tough season, is really demoralising. So I thought we were up for it, and I think I went out using my 4-3-3, and I think I tried to play quite possession based, and that completely backfired on me this time. We didn't do much with the ball, and they just demolished us. They scored 1 goal in the 10th minute of the game. They scored a second goal in the 20th minute of the game, and it's just head in hands, one of those moments. I just couldn't believe it. a year of hard work and great results, and this is how we're going to play in the final. So I was absolutely gutted. I thought it was a bit of jet lag from the game before. The players just demotivated after getting smashed 4-1 by QPR. So in the second half, I swapped. You have to go attacking when you're 2-0 down with 45 minutes to play in a massive game. Switched to 4-2-3-1. I can't remember if I made any personal changes to the team, but it got to the 70th minute and we still had nothing. Until the 80th minute, we got one goal back. I was buzzing, not getting too excited, but encouraging them, using the team talk encouragement, telling them to crack on. They scored. We actually went on to score another goal about 5 or 10 minutes later, I believe. I was ecstatic. They then scored in the 87th minute, and after they'd performed so admirably, coming back from 2-0 down after a 4-1 defeat, I was so chuffed, and seeing that third goal go in, you'd think it's all over. Until 91st minute, the Croatian Phoenix scores a header goal, and we're back in it, taking it to extra time. In extra time, squeaky bum time, sent everyone back behind our halfway line, counter-attack, hold the ball, and we just managed to take it to penalties. And we actually went on to win 5-4 in penalties, and we took back the first trophy in Mansfield Town, first bit of silverware Mansfield's ever seen, to this 9,000 capacity venue. And I've won trebles on Football Manager first season with mid-table Prem teams and stuff. I've actually won trebles with Liverpool and Spurs and other Prem teams that aren't quite title contenders. And this was my favourite trophy I've ever won on the game. I genuinely never thought I could ever get into a playoff final in the Championship, let alone FA Cup final, let alone with Mansfield bloody town. And the biggest thing about it was we actually qualified for European football. So we didn't get into the Premier League, which I was absolutely gutted about. It's another year building, another year without as much money, but it meant that we were in the European Cup, and to play an underdog career and have the opportunity to play in Europe and try and cause an upset there, I think was a more exciting challenge than it would have been just to go into the Prem and battle to stay up. So it was something different. So like I say, I'm going to leave a link to the Reddit post in the comment section below. You can just go read it there if you want to check out any more details or any comments that I left there previously about stuff. Other than that, if any of you want your channels sponsored or linked in the comments below, just let me know. If anyone wants music put in, if their band or whatever has any music they want putting in the videos, I'm more than happy to put in if you message me. And other than that, YouTube, you have a good day. So actually, when I bought the Croatian Phoenix Parisa, they actually said that in the media interview, I didn't even know this, but apparently he'd be the failed wonder kid at Derby County, my team, and I told them I was going to change his career around, and from that point onwards, he was the Croatian Phoenix. He went on to score some big goals for us, and yeah. So just to fill you in on where we are at now, I'm currently in the Premiership. I have been promoted since I made that Reddit post. I've actually played like 3 more years, I think. Yeah, I'm on 3 years down the line, and it was about this time I was going to put a new post up updating because some people were interested, and I thought instead I'd just start streaming it on Twitch or just doing a YouTube series on it. If you guys want to see this, then I'm going to carry on doing it. If you guys want to see me do another or new career, let me know. We also had works. Me and my brother are going to do a couple of videos together because we've got a few saves going. which are really fun. Actually, we've got Savers, Newcastle, and Arsenal. I'm Newcastle. I can't see, they were my first ever Football Manager team. I can't see them in the Championship, so I wanted to restore some glory. And he actually won the title as Arsenal in the first year, so did something Wenger couldn't, and it is genuinely because he bought a defensive mid and a striker, Lacazette and Pogba. So let me know what videos you want to see me do next on Football Manager, and thank you again.